Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, Lone Star, Mopars.com. A little after 7, Texas Independence Day. Big day, March 2nd, 1836. Most of you probably don't care, some of you are unaware, but it's actually significant here because that's when I founded Lone Star Mopars, Texas Independence Day of 2011. That means we've been going 9 years, must be doing something right. But nonetheless, I've got dinner in the oven, got home. Note, it's not just showing you the glove, but no hoodie. That's right, it was super nice today too. So last week on Monday it was really nice, washed the car. Tuesday we had 60-mile-an-hour wind and it took a fence down, so hopefully that doesn't repeat itself. Just want to mention here again, I got the impacts I usually wear from Alpha super dirty with stain. I don't want to transfer the stain to the new stuff we're showcasing, so I'm wearing the standard. What's important to understand about those is they're on closeout at Alpha gloves. They're like $10.75 a pair. It's available in all the colors, typically extra large and bigger, sometimes an assortment of smaller sizes. But it is a pretty dadgum good deal for these gloves. So with that said, this is a kind of a strange tool haul. It's a combination of two, one of them being from the Christmas special, if you will. Again, we kind of got slowed down on the last one because of that Gedore ratcheting wrench. If you've always wanted to see one of those, check out Tool Haul 26 because one's in there. But this one, I'm just going to go ahead and combine two of them instead of leaving them standalone. And for the most part, it's duplicate items and then some that's really similar. But if I'm not mistaken, this might be one of the last bit of things I got from the VHA line, those limited edition ones we were documenting. But right there was 13 of 24. That, of course, is a T20. So I've got a ton of number 13 of 24, which is again the T20. Unfortunately, if it was T25, I'd probably use the snot out of them. T20, I will use eventually. But we might have one more or so of these. Again, now they've gone away from this. They're doing different bits once more. But nonetheless, big thanks to everybody who helped attempt to document those things. We have an older Wera flyer, which that's a little bit obsolete now. There's Santa having a rocking good time here. He's like, I don't have to work again until December. Fantastic. Must be nice. And moving on from that, though, I think we have some more promotional stuff in the bottom, but we'll get to that eventually. One of the items I brought back in, as always, I'll have timestamps down below and links. This is something that was super cheap. I mean, standard, this is like $2.28. In fact, this was actually free. Well, that's right. I remember it correctly. You got to understand, like, when you get the packing invoices, you know, it doesn't have, like, the price or anything. And so I typically default back to what standard MSRP would be. But the way I got that for free was with the purchase of this right here. 400 QR 1105 1010. If you're wondering, hey, that sounds familiar, we're going to go ahead and use this since I've introduced these. We can use them now. Took the Hazette to work today. Got to use it quite a bit. And one, so much easier to open, but two, it cuts really well too. So I've been pleasantly surprised. This right here, though, if you're curious about the 3K line of handles they have, and some of their screwdrivers, that's right, they have more than just, you know, the black rubber ones. This thing is fantastic. I like it so well. I bought, this will be my second one, and what I plan to do, I'm going to have one in an old Craftsman box, and I'm going to have the other one in the newer box. But in terms of a 1/4-inch drive handle, this thing is really, really nice. Love the ergonomics on it. Love that it has a quick release. It's built like a tank for what it is, and it gives you a small taste, albeit a small, literal small sample size for the 3K line. But it was a deal. It was like, I think this was, don't hold me to this, I know under $15. I want to say maybe like $10. And you got the free keychain, so that was kind of a no-brainer. And I'm also pretty sure I went ahead and tacked that on to get free freight off of the other Christmas item, which is right here. This, as we get it out of the box, should know from that packaging, just even without seeing the logo, that is from Knipex. That means it's good stuff. And flipping it around, 8601250 is the part number. Currently, this would retail for $69.89. I'm thinking around Christmas this was sub $50. By sticking that on, I get the free freight. Typically those are the type of things I do, but as we lower it out, is it going to be a Cobra or is it going to be a Pliers wrench? Do you know by the part number? You know now, 8601250 is indeed going to be the Pliers wrench. Now, this is 250, referring to 10 inches for those of us SAE or Imperial, whatever you want to call it, old school. It is documented there on the flip side. You can see right here. Let's go ahead and zoom in for you. All that has something to do later, by the way. 52 millimeter, 2-inch, that's kind of your capacity max range. Sort of hard to see with the oil on it, but down there, that's max size of 2. There's sort of the viewing window here that when we get down to that point lines up. This would be what they consider their 2018 model, kind of their redesign. Some people like it better, some people don't like it as well. If you've never picked one up, I still suggest you do so, because you're going to be pretty happy and you won't have anything to compare it with to know whether you like it more or less. Flip side here, 52. Now, catch is whenever we come in, it's super easy to adjust, of course. And note the diamond right there lines up with the size capacity. So again, this tier here, this widest setting essentially would grip down on 52. Coming in here, 47. So you kind of get the idea. It goes up and down the entire scale. I bought this for a reason. If you're thinking, hey, don't you have a lot of plier inches? Don't you have a 10-inch one? Or in fact, I know you do. Well, I've got one. It's got the comfort grip. Now, that's all subjective as well. This is not the dipped handle. This is kind of their textured one, which I happen to like. Now, I do have plans, and we're going to get to those in just a second, but that is essentially it for the Christmas haul. Alright, and don't be disappointed because there's another one that ties in with it. So what we will do is we will jump to that. This one would be placed... Oh, this is actually before then. Okay. So this must have been the one prior to that, but I believe we waited quite a while on one of these items. So anyway, where do we want to get started with this one? You know what? Let's just continue on with what we had going. And that would be this right here. If I can grab it. It's difficult without my thumb. Alright. It's from Knipex. It's kind of their fancy modern packaging. Part number, let's go ahead and cover that one. It would be, grab my paperwork here, 8609250 VO1. So when we flip this around, you're going to see what this is. This is jaw protectors for their pliers wrench, right? We've had some similar stuff like this. You can kind of see their de facto descriptions. And essentially what it's going to do is what you see in the picture. And what I am optimistically hoping for is going to be significant, and if it works, totally justifies the purchase of this. If it doesn't work, or it doesn't work like I'm hoping it does, it's still justified because it's a pair of pliers wrenches and they were super cheap at Christmas time. So there we go. Ho ho ho, Merry Christmas. Enjoy my gift self. So 3, where is English here? 3 pairs of protective jaws for the optimized pliers wrench. Again, that's kind of how they're referring to this new version of the tool. Twice as gentle for a tighter grip when you want to be absolutely sure. Now, typically, even though this looks like the blister pack nightmare you always dream of, I think this might be easy open. It looks like their cable knife, which had that same like, oh lord, it's going to take a while to get into this sucker. Now, if my thumb was functional, we'd already be in this, I believe. Alright, there we go. So it is not necessarily easy to open, but it is resealable, it is reusable. If you have, I don't know, a pair left over and you want to throw them all together, there's more than enough space. But we're going to pull these out, set this off to the side up here, and this is all there is to it. Now, this is a little bit harder than you would think. You're probably thinking like soft rubber, maybe like, you know, an NWS handle or even softer. This is kind of more, I would say, think plastic over rubber. And that kind of makes sense in terms of you're thinking like non-marring type of a thing, right? And let's be honest, most people, what do you do if you wanted to have a non-marring finish on these? You're going to grab your painter's tape, hopefully, or a quality masking tape so it will pull off easy, and you're just going to wrap the jaws. I do it all the time. I've used socks, I've used shop rags, whatever. By shop rag, I'm talking old school terry cloth type, right? The blue ones don't offer as much. Curious. But what I want to do is drop this sucker down. We're going to take a look at how this slides on. Now note, it's got a bit of a contour there, right? So it's wider on this end, narrows to this end. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide this on the jaw, hopefully, and there we go, it's on. Now we're going to do the same thing up here, get it into position. In fact, let me get this up top. So there is a positive catch on these. Don't know if you could hear it, but rest assured there is. And if I zoom in, everyone that's all about the details will like this. Can you see it? Kind of glaring, but right there it's branded with Knipex. That's a good angle for you. Again, use your imagination. If you think you see the K, the P, the X, whatever, just assume you see the rest of it, because it's really there. Is it on the flip side? Yes, it is. In fact, that's possibly even easier to see. So, that's cool. Will this fit other pliers wrenches? Possibly. We might investigate that in the future. But it is now a situation that awkwardly... Hopefully there weren't two sizes of these, because I didn't really investigate it ahead of time. Straight up honest with you, and it very well might be. That does look fairly small, doesn't it? In comparison with, say, this one. So, if you ever heard the old proverb, fools rush in, well, now you know why. So what I'm going to do is see if we can take this off without damaging it, and I think we can. The man with 1,000 screwdrivers does that by hand for some reason, but hey, it is what it is. Trying to get in before I burn the house down, if you're curious. So we're going to slide this in place. That's better. That's a lot better. Okay. So now this, that looks proper, doesn't it? So there's possible things you could do with that setup, but again, these are not identical. These are actually going to be paired together. So when I pull this down now, the packaging for you, we're going to have the big side and the small side. So it's 3 and 3. It's not like you've got, you know, if you burn through all of the bottom jaw, maybe you're getting more force on it somehow. You're going to have to pick up more of these. But what am I doing with them? Why? Why on earth would I pair these with the Christmas pliers wrench? Well, here's why. I didn't bother to grab my AN wrenches. I've got an adjustable one because back when I originally bought those, AN wrenches were stupid expensive. If you're curious what I'm talking about, okay, we're going to throw some of this random stuff down here. I've always got something I'm working on. But this is an AN fitting, right? Army Navy. It's -8. It's going to be 1/2 inch, 8/16, 1/2 inch line essentially. And so in this case, we've got our AN hose and we've got our NPT connection. Common form to join lines. You can go all AN, you can do combinations. Right here we're kind of throwing together a barbed fitting, right? Something that would thread in. But the bottom line is these are aluminum. Okay, they look really good. They're typically, you gotta realize I'm a little different than most people. So I like to rock black or nickel most of the time. This is typically when you look under the hood of like a race car or some pro street vehicle or at a car show, whatever it might be, and there's the blue and the red. A lot of times that's just like dress-up stuff from Spectre, just covers the radiator hose. But aviation, racing, hardcore stuff like that, it's more of like a threaded connection, and it is functional. It's not just like decorative type of a deal. The problem is, if you were to come in with, say, an adjustable wrench or this ergo pliers from NWS, right, I could totally grab that, okay, either side, wherever I want to, with standard pliers, and it would do a fine job of tightening it. The problem is, as you do that, you're going to take the finish off. These are all anodized since they're aluminum, right? So black, nickel, clear, red, blue, whatever. You know, it's a special finish that you want to protect. Now, I've done a crud ton of AN stuff here over the winter once my thumb kind of came back in. And what I ran into was a situation where I'm kind of wearing out. If I remember right, I had the adjustable and then a 6 and an 8, maybe a double open end. And I'm kind of wearing that thing out to the point that it's sort of marring up the fittings. And I don't know that this is going to work. But my hope and dream is that I will be able to use the Knipex pliers wrench with these protective coverings for all my AN fitting needs. You can see right now, just by doing that, I'm able to break that free by hand. I'm going to use some beat up fittings at first, kind of make note of the, damages or something on them, or if I'm swapping something out. I want to see if it's going to scuff the finish any. If it doesn't, this is replacing the AN wrenches, and I might even buy like some smaller pliers wrenches, because truth be told, the tin, while it would be great for leverage, would possibly be cumbersome in some situations. I'm thinking maybe like a 7-inch might be ideal. Now, if you're doing something on the bench, like in the vise, the 10-inch is the ticket. That's the way to go. But I don't know if this is going to work. I really hope that it does. And we might, basically what I would do, instead of constantly having to take these off and run the risk of breaking them, I have no clue how long they'll last. I don't know if they'll wear down prematurely, what have you. But I essentially plan to keep the padded handle, right, is the standard pliers wrench. This one right here is always going to have these jaw protectors on it. If it doesn't have them, it's because they break, and I need to put a new set on, essentially. The jaw protectors themselves are not bad at all. The price was $11.87. Might have gotten those on like a Knipex sale as well. But 3 of them for about 10 or 12 bucks. Not terrible if they last. Now, for like limited use, like plumbing inside your home type of thing, if you're just remodeling your bathroom or the kitchen, I would imagine that would last through the whole renovation. Certainly a pack of 3 should. Now, with what I'm doing, it would be a little bit more harsh and aggressive. I don't know what's going to happen. I fully intend to find out, though. So I'm pretty excited about it, not going to lie. If you have attempted what I'm talking about, by all means let me know, but cautiously optimistic that good things will come from that. So, and again, even with a pliers wrench being somewhat, expensive, AN wrenches are absurd, and the quality does vary in terms of fit. I mean, you can get like some pretty cheap sets now, and these are prices unheard of when I was getting into this stuff a couple years back. But the problem is, it's like overseas trash, and it doesn't really have good tolerances. And then even though you have an aluminum wrench, if it's sloppy, it's going to be frustrating, and ultimately you're going to ruin the tool and still, ruin the finish on your fittings. So it is what it is. We're going to see how it goes down now. Moving on, I want to go to the tool of the day. It's what justified this order, and it's in this tiny little pouch here. And I know a lot of you are thinking, that is pretty small. I mean, there it is by the pliers wrench, which is 10 inches, right? You're probably thinking like, I bet that's the way it's textured there. Is it like drift punches or something along those lines? You're pretty close. This is from Gedore, and the part number is going to be 8728. Again, it'll be linked down below. This is expensive. It's $48.34 standard. Now, on Tool of the Day, I want to say this was like almost 50% off, one of those like really good ones. So I think I got this for $24.99. Could be mistaken. But when I flip it around, check it out. Wood handles, right? Giant toothpicks. No, these are small, tiny files. They're what they call key files. Now, if you recall a while back, I was trying to find like a good comparable German file that was reasonably priced with a good, handle on it. And ultimately, I'd sort of given up. I just resigned myself to use the Nicholson files for the PB Swiss handles on them. Seemed like a pretty good solution. That's still kind of where I stand. A lot of this stuff, if there's not like a video or a comparative picture, it's very easy to take a picture of one of these on a white canvas, and someone like myself might think, oh, it's a giant file, when there's no specs or dimensions given. These, I knew what I was getting into. They're key files. Again, think of a locksmith, if you will. I'm kind of thinking of using them for different things, although I do have a project with lock cylinders. There's fewer and fewer people that are able to, like, on a car, I'm talking nothing crazy like ASSA or anything, but coming in just an automotive lock cylinder. So many times now, like if your ignition switch goes bad, you have to get it and you have a different key. And then you have a situation where now, say with a Chrysler, where you had sort of the hex key was your door and your ignition, and then the round one was your trunk, you've got a situation where you now have 3 keys, because you have to carry 2 of them. One opens the doors, one does your new ignition switch. People want to have those keyed appropriately, and now the solution for a lot of people is to buy ignition and door lock cylinders. That's expensive, it's redundant. The problem is there's just like a speedometer shop. They don't exist anymore. That used to be commonplace in towns. Same thing, the old dudes that used to do this stuff, where, everyone's car club or town is like, oh, if you need that done, go see Jim Bob, he'll handle it. Those guys are going away, they're passing away, and there's no one really filling their shoes. And kind of testament to like a throwaway culture, just buy new. And it's one of those things, if you can key it yourself, you can save a lot of money, because that stuff's not cheap, and it's really not that good of a quality anymore. But anyway, I also thought this would be good just in general for small areas. I believe these are made in India, and you've got a nice assortment here. We've got a flat, and you got to be somewhat careful with these. These are not going to be like a 10-inch bastard file where you can sort of just go to town with it. There we've got a pointer. Coming in next, we've got our square file. Again, these are actually pretty handy because they do help you sort of keep things flush if you're having trouble. We've got our round file. Moving on, you've got your triangular file, which I've always been pretty fond of those. And then right here you sort of got your half round. So it's a pretty good assortment. Not obviously done much with them just yet. I have used one of them. I was happy with it. But ultimately, at 25 bucks, I thought, hey, that's kind of too good to pass up. So I didn't. And there it is. Now, what would go really well with files, right? Well, how about, how do you maintain those? You go through something rusty, maybe you clean out something plastic, and that just really gunks up your file. So you need a file brush. Now, Gedore, part number 645, is a file brush. And if I can get my little fingers in here, it's starting to get cold now, so that means the thumb will be going away here in a little bit. Check this out. Blue backing, right? It's a file card, file brush, whatever you want to call it. There you can see you've got the Gedore logo, made in Germany, the part number. Really nice handle. It is not coated as best I can tell. Again, I do machine work, not carpentry. Might hit it with some stain or some polyurethane or something, but pretty solid. Ultimately, what I want to do is use this. My file brush is really, really worn down. Not sure what era it came from. It's been good. It's just old and kind of needed to be replaced. That right there will set you back all of $10.66. And if you're thinking, whoa, you know, $10, I'm not paying that for a file brush. Well, there's a solution. Right here from Stahlwille, ST77250000, or you can use their simpler part number, 12378, or just use my link down below because I'm a nice guy. This is Stahlwille's equivalent to the Gedore, if you recall. Probably one of the least riveting videos of all time for 90% of people. Would have been my spark plug brush comparison, right? We went in, we cut them down, saw basically Hazette, Gedore, Stahlwille, price points, handles, hanging holes, brush counts, all that stuff, right? This is similar to that. This one also feels unfinished in terms of what's on the handle, so you can coat that to your preference, I suppose. Stahlwille logo there, made in Germany. The part number, again, eerily similar. Is it not? Who knows? Maybe one of these is made in Italy, right? Couldn't tell you. But, if I flip this over and you get the real profiles, the Stahlwille is just a little bit wider. And, or I'm sorry, the Gedore is just a little bit wider, and the Gedore has the hanging hole complete with the countersink feature. So it's ultimately going to come down to what you prefer. Now, in terms of bristle counts, this would be really hard to accurately assess. They look really, really similar. There may be more on the Stahlwille just at first glance. They do look perhaps a bit taller. They're about the same. Really, the selling point here, do you want a hanging hole? You can put one in the Stahlwille. You'll save about $2. Already on the Gedore if you're willing to pay $2 for the hanging hole. And then white backdrop and a blue backdrop. I mean, if it comes down to aesthetics, this one's cheaper, this one's a little bit more. I'll see how they do. If anyone really wants a further breakdown, we can probably crank one out. They both feel good in hand. The Gedore is a little bit wider on the handle though. I might kind of prefer it where this is just a 90 degree, okay? This does have a soft bevel, so I can actually see, this isn't like a situation where these are exactly identical. I can actually see why this one might cost the extra $2. So if you're looking for something cheap in quality, Stahlwille one. If you're looking to get something maybe a little bit better of a finish, and you don't mind spending $2 for the hanging hole and the rounded edges, go this route. So I won't spend a ton of time on that. I will say though, minor thing, and it probably would add a ton to the price, but if that backdrop there was the Stahlwille green, like on our knife here, oh yeah, that would be awesome. just throwing it out there, right? Let's see here now. This, since it was an older order, I think actually had another one of the VHA bits in that part. If you can't tell, it's 13 of 24, which is what we just got. Which, that was happening a lot there towards the end. And then this might have been from one of the items that was back ordered, but then as you can see, they're back to the standard bits. So those are from Wera now. There is a couple of Wera Pliers. They are both old, Santa Claus. We don't need to worry about that. And funny that I would mention Wera, because I've got, oh, I guess we should cover, did I mention prices on those? $10.66 and $872 respectively. But right here from Wera, this should look familiar, and it's because we've showcased one of them before, and it was actually on this table. It's one of their screw grippers, right? It's actually out of the frame right now. But this guy right here, a lot of you really liked it. We're super impressed by it. It's pretty versatile. Now, the limitation on this small hole there is that it handles 4.5 to 6 millimeter shafts, okay? So that's roughly standard. However, when you get into something larger, you need something bigger. It's interesting because the Wera catalog says nothing about these being for insulated drivers. KC Tool says this is designed for insulated drivers. Now, the way it's going to be set up, one of these is 4.5 to 6, the other is 6 to 8 millimeter. So a thick hex shaft, like a striking cap, hex bolster, whatever it might be designed. If the small one doesn't fit, the 6 to the 8 should. Similarly, for insulated drivers, like you can see here and here, Wera and VHA respectively, if the 6 is struggling to get over the insulation, the 6 to 8 should. So I can see why it would be referred to in that manner. Interesting thing as well, right there, that is the smaller one. So these are insulated colors, I guess you could say. But once more, the big ticket, 4.5 to 6, 6 to 8.5 is what that says. So how hard is it to open this thing? Not too hard. I'm happy because, as mentioned, it is getting colder, and I'm pretty sure that my dinner in the oven is probably done. Now, just seeing the glance of that, it's easy to tell the difference here. So this is 4.5 to 6, this is 6 to 8, or 6 to 8.5. I could almost swear that their catalog said 6 to 8. In fact, I'm going to grab it because I have it right here. No, okay, it says 8.5. So basically right here, though, since I mentioned the catalog, this is the set. This will set you back all of $1096. The standalone individual guy would be a little bit cheaper, $547. You're saving a little bit of money getting these, and this is accomplished by the same task as the all red one. So realistically, if you want the set, go that route. If you're looking to buy one, this is cheaper. If you hate black or think the red one's super cool, just get the set and have that one for a bigger driver. So I had planned to test this on a lot of drivers under the circumstances of me not wanting to burn the house down with the TV dinner. Might forego that, but let's see. I will try real quick. Just grab these for you. Again, this is our old one, all black. The new one, which shows up way better, is the red one. That's 4.5 to 6. Now the 6 to 8.5, note, has a total different design. It's way wider there. Where that's almost like a peace sign, this is just almost like triangular, right? It's kind of one way to look at it. Now let's grab the old-fashioned guy here. So the red will be smaller, red and yellow will be larger. And I think you could accurately call this one for insulated drivers, but we will check. So we'll just grab the standard Gedore here. We'll slide it on. Again, these hold really well, but you get the idea. That's a tight, snug fit. It's like an elastomer type material, if I'm thinking correctly. Now, right here from Tang, which these are actually pretty nice, I have to say. Some of you may have not seen that video, but I encourage you to check it out. Hex shaft, that is a way tighter fit, but it does get the job done if you needed it to, or if that's all that you had, for example. When I come over here to the Wera stainless steel VDE driver, laser tip, we're going to come in and note I have hit a point of resistance, and that point of resistance is, of course, the insulated jacket. So this one right here that we just got has the same specs, 4.5 to 6. Even though it's red, that's what happens, right? Non-functional for us. This one that we just got has the 6 to 8.5. And again, this is not tapered. This is just kind of standard, cheap insulation. Still tight, still snug, but look at that glorious laser tip coming up through the top. So that is where this would come in. You could technically probably get this on some smaller insulated drivers. That's actually why I have that particular driver. Let me grab, where's the number 2? I have the number 2 in the house, dang it. Okay, stupid repairs. So if you've got something small here, like this flathead, okay, that is pretty loose. All right, so this actually timed out on me, sadly. I'm not sure when it happened, so I'm going to have to try to regurgitate what I was just saying. Nonetheless, the 4.5 to 6 does not fit well over the standard insulated driver. I sadly have the number 2 VHA in the house working on something, but this one right here, it's not a slimline. It just looks smaller because, of course, by the handle size, you can tell it's a small slotted driver. In a pinch, actually, this fits quite nicely, so that would work. I mean, you can't just say this is not for use with insulated drivers, because clearly, depending on the size of the shaft, it will work. What I wanted to highlight, though, is that tight fit is far more preferential than using this big 6 to 8.5, because that is extremely loose. There's like zero friction present, and while that would be great holding the screw, if this comes off, it defeats the entire purpose of your screw holding quest, right? So what I want to do now, again, I'm kind of strapped for time here. This is a slimline driver, okay? Brought it in, I should say, for testing purposes. Sadly, I've got the number 2 standard in the house, but we can do way more on this later. This would be standard, 4.5 to 6. Yeah, that's actually a really snug fit. So again, this is an example. If you have slimline drivers, maybe you're doing this commercially, so you kind of pay the little extra to get the slimline drivers, terminal blocks, whatever justification you had for it, that does work just fine with slim type drivers. This one, it would actually work too. So it's just going to depend, on the shaft size. Typically, though, for like a standard insulated screwdriver, the 4.5 to 6 will be a little too small. The 6 to 8.5 is where you're going to want to be, particularly as you size up from a number 2 Phillips. But with that said, I don't want to burn the house down. It's also getting cold. That makes it hard to use my thumb. I am going to wrap this one up, get back inside. I guess I need to get myself a thumbnail. But that is what she wrote. That is what we brought in. I combined these two. Again, essentially to recap it for you, we got probably the last 2 times we're going to see any of these VHA bits. Did not complete the set, not the end of the world, but we have a ton of the number 13. So there is that. What we have, though, Knipex pliers wrench from the Christmas sale. Pretty excited about that for the aforementioned reason. We paired it up with the brand new version 1, even though it's brand new, jaw protectors for the plier wrench. My hope and dream is that it works for AN fittings. Also from the Christmas sale, I picked up another one of these dirt cheap because I like it well enough to do so. Came with the free keychain. Tool of the day, really good price on some tiny key files. They're a bit pricey if you're a locksmith or you would use them all the time. Pull the trigger. Otherwise, maybe wait for a sale or some promotional deal. Also, if any of you know of any good German files that are easily and readily available, let me know. But for now, like I said, I'm kind of just sticking with my old Nicholson files. Then we brought in the 2 file cards, the Gedore and the Stahlwille. We got the set of screw grippers right here, the McDonald's colored one, ketchup and mustard, whatever you want to call it. And really what's cool with that is you can then, the more of these you acquire, you can leave set up on a particular driver. For example, if you're doing tons of stuff with number 2 screws and panels that you're building, or that's your hobby, whatever it might be, leave one intact, have the other ones with you or in a toolbox. Again, pretty cheap solution for screw gripping. How they hold up long term, we'll have to wait and see. And I believe that is all she wrote. So it is now 7:40, and I do believe that I should get in before I burn dinner or the house down. Mavericks and Bulls are on tonight. But again, tool haul number 27, Christmas, plus tool of the day key files. So as always, thanks so much for watching. Sorry for rambling. Timestamps, as always, down below. If you aren't already, I encourage you to subscribe. Leave a like if you enjoyed, a comment if you got anything to share, first-hand experience with any of these tools. At some point in time, we might kind of do more involved testing on that. For now, this is all I can do, literally, so I don't be homeless in the next video. But hey, as always, thanks for watching. Lone Star Mopars. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all 3 at Lone Star Mopars. With that said, thanks for watching. I'll catch you back here in the next